Welcome back to another episode of Automotive Insight. Today's repair is a 2008 Ford Expedition. With sheer determination and a hammer, you too can fix your ignition switch. So let's check it out. So the customer was out of town and they couldn't get their ignition key to turn. And you can see there's quite a bit of damage. Steering wheel is loose and all the electronics are disassembled. So the steering wheel lock is broken. With the electronic part of the ignition switch is detached. You can put your key in there and then use another key, and then you could start the vehicle. So today we're going to be replacing the whole steering column because the casing itself is broken, and that's just probably the safest bet at this point instead of trying to repair any of this. And plus the casing's broken, that's non-repairable. So it's getting a whole steering column. Since we're going to be dealing with the airbag, we're going to go ahead and disconnect the battery. We'll disconnect the negative terminal. It is an 8mm. Okay, so on the back side of the steering wheel, this is probably going to be a little bit out of order because the steering column plastics are already removed, but we're working on getting the airbag out. There are 3 clips. There's one on each side and one on the bottom. Using a flathead screwdriver, there's a little spring clip. And usually once it's released, the airbag pops out just a little bit. Okay, we've got our airbag out. We'll go ahead and disconnect all our connectors. The airbag has two push tabs on each side of it to release them. And then we'll put this airbag out of the way. So before taking our steering wheel off, we'll go ahead and center it. That way we have a good starting point for when we go back in with our new steering column. But there's one more connector, this upper one here. And then we'll go ahead and remove the steering column. It is a T30, the center bolt here. And the steering wheel should just come off. We'll go ahead and disconnect all the connectors, and there's a couple harness holders. We'll do that. Okay, so there's 3 screws on the bottom for this knee panel here. They're 7mm. And there's 3 metal clips, 2 at the top and 1 on the side. So we're going to have to get this metal plate off. It looks like it goes behind here. This little side panel here just pulls off. You can pull off the weather stripping, give you a little bit of access to that. We'll go and disconnect this and just set it out the way. Okay, we'll move the hood release. The hood release, it's a 7mm. And there's 2. There's 1 underneath it. Next, we're going to remove the metal support. There's four 8mm screws. At the bottom of the steering column is a steering angle sensor. We're going to disconnect this. The connector is facing this metal bracket. A pick or something works well, but anyway, it's right there. All right, next, we're going to work on removing this bolt. 10mm. This is going to separate the flex joint from the steering column. This is keyed, so it's not crucial for position, but obviously you don't want this spinning if the wheels are up off the ground, but we'll have to go and line this back up once we get our new steering column in. So then we'll disconnect the 4 mounting bolts or mounting nuts, because these are studs, I think, that stay on the frame. And I wasn't able to separate it in the car, or separate it with the column still attached. So we'll probably separate it as the steering column's coming out. Okay, so we got a used steering column here. So we're going to work on installing that. The shaft is keyed. Luckily it's not splined, and they have a notch in it. So we have the notch facing the passenger side. It's the same side that the bolt is in. And then we'll have to install this into the flex joint as we're installing the whole column. A lot of steering column and steering components have Loctite on it. So we put a little bit of Loctite back on the... We put a little bit of Loctite back on this bolt. And we'll torque it down to a couple dugga-duggas. While we're down here, we'll plug in our steering angle sensor. We'll go ahead and connect all our other connectors. This was already separated on the old one, so we're just going ahead and use what's installed on the used unit. Okay, we'll put this metal panel back on. Okay, now we'll install a plastic panel, reconnect the brake pedal adjuster, install our other interior, our other panel piece. So before we put it all back together, we got the battery temporarily connected. Make sure you want to disconnect before messing back with the airbag. But we're going to program the key to make sure that works before putting it all back together. So in this process, they're only going to have one key. You can do an all keys lost function if you want to, or you can just go ahead and program one key. Ford, sometimes they make you have two keys. This one you can only do, you can just program the one key that you have. No. Okay, we're going to put our steering column covers back on. Then the top piece should just snap on to the lower one. So this piece is already removed. The passenger side has to slide in first. It's got a little notch. And the other side has a clip on it. For the steering column adjuster, there's a little lever that you can take off. It is a T20 to put it back on. So now we're to the part to put our steering wheel back on, but first we need to center our clock spring or spiral cable. What I like to do is you can just go ahead and spin it all the way to one side until feel a little bit of tension. You don't want to put a lot because you can just snap the cable. So we'll go through and we'll count all our turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5. And then you can just half this. Which is about 2 1/4, 1, 2, and then that's going to put us center on the steering wheel, and that should match up to where we centering our steering wheel when we install it as well. So our steering wheel is just in place, and it should be fairly straight from where we put it in when we first took it up, from where we lined it up to when we took it apart. Okay, we'll reinstall our steering wheel bolt. I put new Loctite on it. We'll go ahead and tighten it down. I do recommend torquing it. I'm not going to give the torque specs because we tend to get fussed at with people breaking bolts. So feel free to look it up. We'll go ahead and connect our electrical connectors. We'll reinstall our airbag. Now remember, our battery is disconnected doing this. So just installing the airbag, you should be able just to push back on it at the 3 points. Stays in. Okay, we'll go ahead and reconnect our battery. All right, well, that wraps it up. We did find out that using a hammer is not the best repair method for this, but we was able to get it replaced. We picked up the steering column for about $100. I kind of saw prices between $100 and $200, depending on where you get it from. Labor costs for about 2 hours to do this. Everything swapped over, and with the programming of the key, luckily the steering column came with that. If not, they would have to replace the lock cylinder itself, which would add roughly probably another $100, and then probably $100 a piece for new keys. I've had key sets that had chips in them and they didn't work and had to get a different set of keys. But anyway, that wraps us up. We may not have all your answers. Hopefully you had some. That being said, we'll see you on the next one. I'll pick you up at 8. With that being said, we'll see you on the next one. Mario, what do you think about your car being filmed?
Oh, so what? You got funny jokes about the hammer?
What are you talking about? No, just determination and a hammer.
Come here. Let me show you.
Hey, I was just trying to help. You should have called me later. Next, we're going to work on disconnecting all the electrical connectors, and there's a couple little holders.
The nectars?
Did I say nectars?